Nico's.
The Spider Skirmish is his attack. It does increases damage per hit, has a low impact on stun, but it doesn't launch and knockback. So there's that. He has Take to the Sky, which is going to be a complete launch. It has an impact which is going to be pretty high, so it's good damage. It's medium. Stun is medium. There is the Arachnid Agility. When you press square with sprinting to perform an overhead kick that deals bonus stun damage. This is a high stun, so this is going to be for takedown builds. You're going to be using this like crazy. Think fast. Press square after dodging and evading, perform a low spin kick to trip enemies, making them easier to combo. Gives you trip animation, but it does medium stun and medium impact, so it does way more damage than it should do. But it does good stun. You know, obviously this is gonna be your bread and butter. And it's from up high. That's a medium stun, but it does a reaction of stagger to enemies, and it's a guard break. You hold square while air burns a slingshot into the ground and create a shockwave that staggers nearby enemies. Then there is turn your back. Press square after vaulting an enemy to perform a follow-up kick that spins the enemy around, attacking from behind, having a increased critical chance. Then there's Predator Instincts. Again, this one actually I should have mentioned. This does spin. This turns enemies back to you, and it's a stun medium, so it's a good stun attack. It's a good stun player. Press square while on the wall to perform a powerful leaping punch that deals bonus damage and impact, kind of like a Panther. Medium stun does make them stumble backwards, and it does high damage and high impact, which is pretty good. We covered Spider-Man's light attacks. This covers heavy attacks. First we have Far Reach. Far Reach is a heavy attack where you press triangle, fire a web line out of the target, and zip over into melee range. Rapidly you press triangle, combo a series of acrobatic heavy attacks using web lines that deal increased impact damage, build up both web status and stun damage. The final hit of the combo is a heavy combo finisher. Low stun, web status, but you got a button press mechanic where you can just build it up over time. So good to know. Probably get some good takedowns out of that. That leads into web pull, which is a high impact move. Hold triangle to fire 2 web lines at the enemy, then yank them off their feet and pull them towards you. Classic Spidey. Spider Assault. It's a sprinting attack. It's a very high stun, where you just press triangle while sprinting to launch over to the enemy and deal a large amount of stun damage. Web Slam is in air. While mid-air, hold triangle to grab a web enemies, pull them up into the air, then hurl them towards the ground to create a shockwave to hit nearby enemies. Medium stun, medium impact, but very high damage, and it's a guard block, so you can use that against web enemies. Double fire. Press triangle after dodging or evading to quickly fire out 2 web projectiles at the enemy that deal increased web status damage. And it does a web status medium. So these moves are getting to the web status. So if you wanted to get them all web, you can dodge and do double web status, double fire over and over. And you can do web pull if you want to get their web status up, and if you can get their web status up high enough, then obviously you can finish them off with the web slam. Then we have web whirlwind, which we all seen this move plenty of time. Web enemies and spin them around from the ground. This time you hold triangle. Large enemies cannot be hit by this. It's medium stun. It does normal knockback, but it's a guard break. Of course, all web attacks are breaking guard, which is great because they're not. How can they guard? They're webbed. And it's impact. Spider-Man comes in extremely handy. This is called backfire. It's an additional thing. So, enemy thrown with web slam deals status damage based on the type of enemy that has been thrown, which is pretty cool. And it's a high, so it's automatic all the time. Spider's grass. After vaulting, slam enemies to the ground. And it increases web status. It's a slam attack, normal stun, high damage. Rapid spin, press triangle while performing a web whirlwind to spin the web enemy around again before throwing them. And this is the web repeater. It was combo from square to triangle to chain the light combo to heavy finisher while airborne. Press square triangle form attack during an aerial light combo. Launch a barrage of web projectiles out in all directions to quickly build up web status of multiple targets. So it does it automatically if I just continue with the light to heavy combo finisher. Web status is medium, damage is medium, impact is high, and it causes stagger in your enemies. Now his range is short. I was expecting a little bit more from Spidey, but here we are. Web shooters, as we know. Hold L2 to aim and rapidly press triangle to quickly fire web projectiles to build up web status damage on enemies. Once enemies are webbed there and incapacitated for a short duration, web enemies that are knocked into walls will be pinned there, extending the duration and remain webbed. Some enemies are more resilient to the web status than others, which is Spider-Man through and through. If the web cartridges don't have enough web fluid in them to perform the attacks, fresh web cartridges will be reloaded into the web shooters. Press L2 and square to manually trigger this at advantage time to avoid running out of critical moments. So he actually comes with like a reload mechanic, which is very interesting to see how people played it out. Because if you're good at this, you can probably keep those reloads coming. Web blast. Hold R2 while aiming to prime the web shooters and release to fire a concentrated web blast that deals increased damage and breaks the enemy's guard. Web blast must be selected to use this attack. Use left and right to cycle through different firing modes. So he has the firing mode of web blast versus web shooters. Then you have upgrade the cartridges to 10 ammo and then improve web status build rates by 30%. And he has web spread. This is a different one he could do. Hold R2 while aiming to prime web shooters and release to fire 2 web area-wide projectiles that can push multiple targets back and apply web status. This is the second one. This is a high impact one. This is a high damage, high impact guard break. This is also guard break, and this is low everything, but it builds up to them being completely incapacitated with web. Alright, so this web tether, this is the last one. So he actually has 1, 2, 3, 4 shooters. Surprising. While aiming to prime the web shooters, then release to fire a web tether. The tether attaches to surfaces before firing a proximity base web line that attaches to other enemies and surfaces and retracts and pulls the enemy along with it. The web line deals a large amount of web status damage and is capable of quickly webbing certain targets when used. This is actually a thing that is in the Spider-Man game from Insomniac, so it's something he's known for doing. This is going to probably be something I use a lot of. Web status is freaking high. Ammo cost is high though. Impact is high. Damage is low. But I'll probably be using that a lot. So here we go. Let's get to his intrinsics. We have Spider Sense. Indicates when an attack is coming. Per circle, when the indicator is active, applies a damage resistant buff for the entire duration of the evade. Damn! Reducing any damage taken if hit. Oh, this thing is broken. Time to evade at the last second will trigger a perfect evade, which prevents all damage and decreases the impact resistance of the attacker, making them easier to interrupt. Wow, Spidey's broke. Wreckage. Dealing melee damage builds up the intrinsic meter. When the intrinsic meter is full, do your takedown. Standard enemies will have to stun them first. Okay, we'll wreckage. Taking damage reduce intrinsic meter. The amount lost is based on strength of attack. Good though. Sorry, I had to yawn. Quick reflexes. Press square after a perfect dodge to kick the target in the air. I get that. You get that. That's an intrinsic ability? Really? Okay. Saw that come in. Increases the perfect evade window, which is probably really important to upgrade immediately. The view from above. Perform melee attacks when airborne. Increases the rate of the intrinsic meter build up by 10, which is going to be... That's just good. Web counter. Press triangle after a perfect evade to fire a concentrated blast of webs at your target that would knock the enemy back and to increase web status. Web status is high on that. Impact is high, damage is high, and it's a breaks block as well. Damn, that's pretty good. That's actually extremely good. Spidey is trying not to get touched. If played right, Spider-Man doesn't get hit. Predictive moves. Performing a perfect evade grants a short duration defensive buff that reduces damage and makes it less likely to be interrupted with standard enemy attacks for a few seconds. That's wow. Okay, so let's look at this. So, Perfect Embrace gives you a damage buff, and you can get a defense buff out of it. That's interesting. Reduce the amount of intrinsic meter lost when taking damage by 15%. Nice. Spider stamina. The harder they fall, the intrinsic meter can be used to perform takedowns on larger, tougher enemies without having to stun them first. So you can actually get it to the point where you can actually take down bigger enemies too. So Spider-Man just has free roam in this fucking game. Okay. It starts to make sense. Alright, so let's move on to a specialty. So far, this is all exciting. His Spider Drone. Hold L1 to play a Spider Drone that flies around and shoots web projectiles on enemies. Oh well, L1 to set a defend point for the drone to stay at, and press L1 again to recall it and set it to follow mode. That is nice. Okay, so his projectile can be controlled. It's kind of like how if you hold down the projectile for Black Panther, he goes and becomes a heal, right? Well, his can stay home and you can just stay and just shoot. So there's a range and melee version of this. The melee version is just going to seek the enemies out. The range version is you're just going to have it stay home with you. My personal opinion. Alright, so multi-targeting. The Spider Drone can now simultaneously target 3 enemies when shooting. That's, yeah, please. Specializations of the Spider Drones. We have the high emissions. The Spider Drone shoots concentrated blasts of webs, dealing more damage. It's damage dealing. It's a high damage. Then we have the medical attention. The Spider Drone emits a healing pulse every 5 seconds or so. It's 50% of the max willpower for all nearby enemies. Ooh, that's nice. It does that while attacking. It's nice. That's actually pretty nice. Defensive stance. The Spider Drone activates an energy barrier around it and stops all incoming projectiles and provides all heroes in the area defensive environment that reduces damage taken by 30. Damn, the Spider Drone is good. The Spider Drone is good. That's interesting. So Spider-Man can just straight up, from his supports, he can straight up play a healer. It comes with the extra battery life here. Increase the duration of the drone for 10 seconds. And it's specializations 2. We have the efficient outputs. The Spider Drone heroic increases the web status build up for 25%. Then we have the class clown. The Spider Drone taunts the enemies and shoots. Draws their attention away from other targets. That's nice if you want to go heal. Special delivery. The Spider Drone emits an energy dampening field, giving all enemies defeated near the chance to drop a heroic orb. Nice. Okay. Then we have the web bomb. The heroic. You throw a web bomb out that detonates on impact and releases webbing in a wide area and quickly build up the web status on targets. So you can get, that's a nice one. Damage is high, impact is high, web status is high, and it does flying. Now its first passive is going to be triggering web bomb instantly fills the intrinsic menu. That is a good ass passive. That's a good ass passive. I like that. I like that a lot. Let's go down to the next one. Take 2, Assault Heroic Upgrade. Defeating enemies webbed by the web bomb restores a small amount of the Assault Heroic meter. So theoretically, depending on the mastery, you could spam this indefinitely. Depending on what other stuff you have on. It doesn't say what percentage though, it just says a small amount of assault meter. But if you farm assault meter items, there's a way around that. Okay, so his specialization 1, all webbed up. Increase the area for the web bomb, make it easier to hit more targets. Enemies webbed by the web bomb remain webbed for an additional 5 seconds. That is crowd control. So you can support heal or crowd control with him. That's crazy. Web retraction. Instead of releasing the webbing in a large area, the web bomb fires out 6 web tethers and nearby targets, webbing and pull them into the consolidated location. I'm laughing because, like, what? That's crazy. So his specializations are going to be his other webbings. That's crazy. So if you're running tether the whole way, it's viable to be a tether Spider-Man. I might do tether because tether is just fun. Get people together and just get their asses kicked. Stuck on You. Instead of throwing a web bomb out, you form a powerful web punch against the target while sticking the web bomb directly onto them, knocking the target back before the bomb detonates. Okay, so melees or in close people are gonna want to use stuck on you. Still get the same effects, but you know, you get to stay in close. Cobwebs increase the web status build up of the web bomb by 30%. Supercharged increase the web bomb recharge speed by 20%, which is benefits from this one as well. And we have extra increase the damage dealt by web bomb by 20%. So far, Spider-Man has seemed pretty cool. Let's get to his ultimate heroic here. The Wrecking Ball. I don't like it. Right? I think I prefer his ultimate heroic to be something where like he goes from one enemy, hits an enemy, hits another enemy. Like he just bounces through a target. If it's like one target, and he just hits them from different variations. And but anyway, so press L1 R1 to create a massive ball of webs that slam down into the ground, smashing enemies under it and knocking back. Triggering web ball also provides a heroic buff that reduces damage by 20%, increases damage by 15%, lasts 20 seconds, breaks block, high web status, flyback reaction, high damage and high impact. Its passive is rapid recharge. While Wrecking Ball is active, the intrinsic meter automatically refills over time. Okay, so 20 seconds of intrinsic coming back. Alright, then we have the Silk Strength. Increase the duration of Wrecking Ball by 10 seconds. So 30 seconds of intrinsic is what the goal is. So Spider Signal. Flash the Spider Signal to start a Wrecking Ball, applying a debuff to all enemies affected. Enemies defeated while debuffed by a Spider Signal will drop a region. So this goes also down to healing. Okay. It's a guarantee then. Enemies defeated by Spider Signal drops. Okay, so you can keep the heals up for real. Spider-Man can just straight up be a fucking healer on your team. Web Brawler. Spider-Man fists and feet are wrapped in webbing for the duration of Wrecking Ball, causing all melee attacks to also apply web status. Okay, so yeah. Okay, yeah, that's something. That's something right there. That's annoying. That 30 seconds of he's unbeatable for 30 seconds. He's literally unbeatable for 30 seconds if you know what you're doing. Okay, there's straight up melee build here. There's a straight up range build for Spidey, and there's straight up a fucking melee build. They're rewarding you to get in there. They're actually encouraging you to mix it up. The Spider's Nest. The Wrecking Ball leaves behind a hazard that will continue to apply web status to any enemy that enters it. Targets that are tripped, slammed, or thrown into the wall will instantly become webbed. Okay, so they make sure to bring about his reactions, tripped and slammed. So he can literally just dodge and attack people, and they're all webbed. So that's another controller ability. So Spider-Man is officially the first, basically, support or controller and healer that we got in the game. Like Troll is a role that basically just says that you're able to affect the battlefield with your abilities, your support. So he's heavy support. But he also has a melee. He literally has everything, but he does everything but tank. Honestly, he's not really a tank, but he does everything else extremely well. So then he has speedy recovery for his specialization 2. The ultimate heroic increases intrinsic regeneration rate during Wrecking Ball by 20%. Wait, so this does it automatically refills over time, and then it does 20% faster. So again, another situation where we don't actually know the numbers, but we can assume the cycle continues. All web status damage this is spun up. All web status damage is boosted by 10% while Wrecking Ball is active. Ultimate heroic specialization. Defeating enemies while Wrecking Ball extends the duration of 2 seconds. So if you want it to be a melee Spidey, you can stay in Wrecking Ball. You could just stay in Wrecking Ball status. There's a real viable melee build, especially if you do Wrecking Ball and then you do high dimensions, and then you hit them with the web retraction. You can just keep them all together and just go crazy. Or no, you want to do stuck on you, you go melee. You go melee, you want to do stuck on you. and then you just have your drone shooting people. That's not bad at all. His movement is already here, but there's one secret there, so let's just recover it. But we can't, let's go over it. We know his evades, so there's that. There's wall crawl. That's just simple. We know that. That'll come in handy for real in this game. There's web swing. R2 and X. Then there is springboard step. There's a vault. There's vault reactions. There's wall run. Like everybody else. But he runs straight up just like he does in comics. Then there's zip. Then the one that's hidden is web launch, where you use zip and press X again just to shoot yourself off. Yeah. It's just reverse. It's not that bad. As you can see though, he starts with a higher defense. So they're pretty much saying make this motherfucker a healer, a controller. But we'll see. When we get to his mastery, now let's go over his mastery. Okay, so we're in his mastery. This is his melee. His 1 to 3 upgrades for melee. You can increase his damage by 10% with hitting this guy. Critical chance, increase crit chance of melee damage by 10%. Lights out, increase the damage of all combo finishers by 15%. Upgrade 2 is Spider Sting, increases the stun damage on all light attacks by 10%, which could be very good. Brute Force, critical damage on melee damage by 10%. Boom, increase the impact of combo finishers, purple on the way. And his takedown upgrade. Takedown gives regen. It should be the same. Heroic and all that, right? Regen, intrinsic, and heroic. Yeah, well, it's pretty much the same for everybody. Range upgrades. Increase max ammo capacity by 10. That just seems great. Range critical damage from the web shooters. Deal 10% more web status. Not bad. Increase the range damage of web shooters by 30%. If you want to go melee, that's the way to go. Range upgrade 2. Continue charging up web blast for more concentrated blast, causing the projectile hit harder and knocking enemies back, so that's called blast range. Not go anywhere. Increase the web status dealt by web tethers by 15%. I like that. Web trap. Fire one additional projectile while using web spread to increase the area coverage and push back more targets. And we have range upgrade here. This is greater impact. Increase the damage dealt by web blast by 15%. Then we have Penny Pincher. Reduce the ammo cost of web tethers by 20%. Then making distance. Increase the web distance the enemies are pushed back by web spread. Now web statuses. Now increases the web statuses. The upgrade of web statuses. Now web enemies take 10% more melee damage for web attack. If you put on web stun, web enemies receive 20% more stun damage. If you put on web enemies build status meter 20% faster. Does not apply to stun damage. Web status upgrade 2. Web enemies take 10% more range damage. Increase critical chance by 50% with webbed enemies with critical web. Web longevity. Web enemies will remain stuck to a wall for additional 3 seconds. Not bad if you want to go with tethers. Web recovery. Web enemies that are defeated have 50% chance to drop regen packs. This is all about being a healer. Web enemies that are defeated have a 30% chance to drop intrinsic energy. And that's what was called web sense and web head. Web enemies that are defeated have a 20% chance to drop heroic orb. Let's get to the centric ability for web attacks. The perfect counter increases the damage dealt next attack by 15% after performing perfect evade. Increases stun damage. Counter stun increases the stun damage of quick reflexes. Web counter increases the web status damage dealt by 20%. This is intrinsic recovery. Performing perfect evade generates some intrinsic meter. That's really good. Web chance, webbing a target generates some intrinsic meter. Not bad. Intrinsic reserve, reduce the amount of meter loss by 20%. We know that. It's pretty much everybody got that. Spiderman increases melee damage dealt by 10% while the intrinsic meter is full. Nice. Reduce the amount of damage taken by 30% with the intrinsic meter is full. Spider defense. And overcharge boost. Defeating an enemy with the wreckage restores a small portion of the intrinsic meter, and that is Spider-Man's skill tree, and it is pretty good. It doesn't look too in depth at first glance, but then you realize that he is pretty much a straightforward character when he works through his abilities, so it's all about how you want to use him. like overhead, you know.